Welcome to the Kaiju Podcast. I'm Ralph.
I'm Jorge.
And today we are talking about Godzilla Minus One.
2023.
That's it.
Yeah,
The intro.
we did it.
We remembered. You know what was funny is I was thinking, what? Do we have an outro?
Yes, we do.
Oh. Okay, we'll get to that then.
I forgot.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, this movie was announced, what, like almost a year ago?
Yeah, maybe.
Like the teaser image with the little swirly
Right.
G.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was a
yes,
date.
like that.
And I think
Like the calligraphy G, yeah.
I think the date was like 11/3/2023. I think that's what it was.
All right.
Which I think was when it came out in Japan, maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
So, like, back then, I'm like, are we going to come back and do this thing? Are we, like, kind of have to, but I don't know. Like, we'll see. Because, I mean, we did Kong. We did Godzilla versus Kong.
Right.
And then, like, so, like, lately it's been, like, Monarch. And we've kind of had some text discussions about Monarch. I think.
Right.
I don't really want to cover a TV show.
It didn't compel us to want to come and talk about it.
Right.
Other than we can talk about it right now. But the monster stuff's good so far.
Yeah, I still have one episode. I'm one episode behind. I haven't watched episode 4, but I like the Wyatt Russell story. I haven't watched episode
4 either.
Okay, and I think 5.
I didn't know 4 was already out.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I think we're both on the same page. We both like the Wyatt Russell storyline more than the other one.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not like it's what is like 10 episodes and we're like 3 in, and I don't know. It's hard to say, but
yeah,
I can tell you this, like maybe like 20 minutes into this movie, I was like, oh shit, I think we got to do this.
Yeah. Well, if anything, this brought me back to our first Godzilla chat that started the podcast. Like before that, like this felt like a movie that I wish we were at that English pub that we hung out at and just talked about it. This is what it felt like. It felt like this is one I want to talk about.
Yeah.
To you specifically, because this is our history, and then you're like, well, let's do it on mic, basically, because I was like, okay, fine, because like, but the only thing about doing it on mic was like, oh, we can't talk about it even yet, because I saw it Sunday, and so I had to wait till Sunday to talk about it. You saw it last night, and then I was like, oh, okay, good, finally, and then it's like, oh, now we gotta wait a whole another day. Okay.
Well, the reason why is because while I was watching the movie, and like as soon as it ended, I'm like, does it crack our top 5? And then I told you, and then I told you, I said, I sent you a text that just says, wow,
yes,
that's something else or something like that.
Yeah,
and you said,
and I said. Well, first you said as I was like, okay, you just saw it, so it was like sinking in. I was like, you liked it, right? He's like, yeah. And I go, and what did you say?
So I said, yeah, a lot. I just said, yeah, a lot. I didn't want to give away too much because I had this feeling.
Right.
But then you said it. You said,
I go, yeah, comma, a lot. And I go, like, you made it to look at the list, and you go, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was feeling the exact same thing.
Right. And then you called me, and then we were like, we got it.
And you're like, don't talk to me.
Right.
The one thing that I did tell you ahead of time before you saw it, which is for me, the headline of this movie was that they really nailed the human story. I thought
I've heard people say that if Godzilla wasn't in this movie, it'd still be a compelling story.
Oh yeah. My biggest issue with Godzilla's from the beginning, from almost, well, maybe not the first one. The first one, I think you cared about the people too.
Mhm.
But especially the Godzillas, like the around the Millennium Godzillas and stuff like that,
Right.
was just like, I do not care. I do not care about these people.
Mhm.
But this one was completely different. I liked everybody and cared, and I was
Yeah.
invested in all of them. Um, and I was like, wow, they really nailed that because because it was, yeah, yeah, it sucked you in, and it was like, oh, so it's not like a movie that I'm, because there's times I go, man, this is going a long time before we see Godzilla again, but it really set up a compelling story,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
historical ness of it, and then there's kind of, there's a lot in there, and it's also just kind of like, it seems like it's Japan reflecting on
Mhm.
its World War II and the experience of
Right.
during World War II.
Well, that was like the thing with the original Godzilla is like Godzilla was an allegory for the nuclear bomb, right?
Right.
And and I guess wasn't there something in place where they weren't allowed to talk about the war and stuff at the time?
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Like I feel like that's why Godzilla was
Why it had to be a
Godzilla.
God? Oh.
Yeah, but this one's almost like, okay, well, let's actually get into that time period.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because it's clearly it's not historically accurate to the point where there's a giant Godzilla,
Right.
but it got to the point where like I asked Stevie, I'm like, do you think that plane's a real plane? Like how
Oh
much
yeah.
of this, because they used some like stock footage from the era
I
and
think that
stuff.
plane's a real plane. I think it's
Yeah,
real. I mean, I
it's
think it's a
real.
real
She
plane.
looked it up. There was two of them, and I guess you can see like the front half of one at some museum.
Ah, okay.
But this plane already looked like it was only a front half.
Yeah, that's what this is, a plane that looks like it's only front half.
It looked like, I told her it reminded me of a Hot Wheels, like a Hot Wheels plane, like a weird, like, I don't know.
I didn't have. I don't know if I had Hot Wheels planes because they didn't quite fit in the little Matchbox
Yeah,
carrier
but like it's
suitcase.
Hot Wheels designed a plane.
Yeah.
You remember that one Hot Wheels car? It was like it looked like a rocket. It was like a big nose cone, and I think the tip was rubber, so you didn't poke your eye out. And it had like two. It was like almost like it had three wheels.
Oh, the tip was rubber. I think I've had.
I think the tip was rubber.
I always lean towards the Hot Wheels or Matchboxes that looked like futuristic. Like I always liked like ones
Yeah.
that would have like bubble cockpits and things like that. I was always
Hmm.
into those.
Yeah. But yeah, there was
So,
one with three wheels that looked like a torpedo, essentially.
okay.
But
I don't
that's
think I
what
had
this
that.
reminded me of. Um. Okay. Do you want to go? Do you want to touch on the five things you said? You mentioned you had five things that you wrote
Well,
down.
I mean, I didn't have to be necessarily in
Okay.
order.
I had two side kind of minor
Like
question marks.
to go. Yeah, like it'd be great because we obviously this isn't a movie we took notes on. I mean, we both have only seen it
Right.
once.
Right.
I
IMAX, right?
definitely
You
want
saw
to see it
IMAX?
again. Yeah, but it wasn't that impressive of an IMAX. I don't.
For
Maybe some IMAXs are better than others.
for me, the sound was amazing.
Yeah,
It was loud.
yeah. In fact, there's a moment when they do that beginning part where you start. It's like you go through like that fake roller coaster experience as you enter the IMAX.
Oh yeah,
Basically, that
they're still
cut
using
down
that.
and stuff. I was like, man, I forgot that I started. I used to, it's been a while since I've really been to the movies like this, but I was like, I used to start bringing earplugs, like ear filter things, so that it wouldn't be so crazy loud. Oh,
Hmm.
by the way, speaking of loud, did you stay all the way through the credits for the final little
Yes.
audio stinger?
Hmm.
It's not much. It's just
Because
like,
I had already texted you. I had texted you while the credits were still going. I was so
yeah,
amped up.
Yeah.
And then you're like, did you stay for the thing? And I'm like, oh no, I'm like still in the middle of it. I'll wait for it
Oh,
though.
okay.
Now that I
Cool.
know.
Yeah,
Now you
I
have
was like,
nothing left.
it was yeah, I always like to like sometimes usually when the credits start, I'll for at least big movies, I'll look up it's like aftercredits.com and they kind of like let you know if there are stingers.
I okay, so I want to say, and we've seen it like 100 times, or not 100 times, but a lot of times in these movies, that Godzilla's still out there. There's like a post-credit scene where Godzilla's still out there,
Yeah.
whether it's the heartbeat at the bottom of the ocean
Right.
or his eye opens or whatever it is.
Right.
I felt like I could have used that later in the credits
Yeah.
because it's such an emotional ending. By the way, I was like a sobbing baby when this movie. By the time
Oh,
this
you
movie ended,
cried. All right.
it was, and the thing is, it was like so cheesy too. Like I'm like, I mean, we're jumping around here, but I'm like, oh, okay, and she's also alive. That's
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. I was like
I didn't.
when the telegram arrived, I was like, "Oh my god, really? Is she alive?" Because we saw her basically go flying.
Right. Right. So she goes. So the telegraph. So a couple of things felt sort of like obvious. I think the ejector seat was obvious it was going to happen,
It,
and I felt
but it
like
was yes, ejector seat was obvious, but it's because they planted the seeds for it.
right.
So
But it was like the whole time I was watching this, it was that little thing where I'm like, it's giving me hope. So I was okay with it. I'm like, the
right,
whole time he's flying around, I'm like, he's got to use the ejector seat. There's got to be an ejector seat. It's got to happen. And
but that's mainly
when
because
he,
one of my favorite moments is the speech that Doc gives,
yeah,
and he talks about how that essentially the country didn't fully value life throughout the war. And they
right,
gave all these different examples, including planes without ejector seats and kamikaze pilots. And that whole idea lingers over the entire movie. From the
right. And
beginning, we find
him
out
not
he's a
doing his duty.
kamikaze pilot that didn't fulfill his mission, claiming that he had a malfunction on the plane and them not being able to find anything. Also, that like when and then he storms off and this one guy talks and like you find out that basically they know the war is already over, but they still have
Yeah.
these missions that they had to fulfill, and so that just kind of also just reinforces that overarching theme in the thing. And so then making the final move against Godzilla to be the that it's their choice to do what they do and put
Yeah.
themselves at risk. Also, by the way, I love this is I can't think of another movie where you cheer for the villain more than a Godzilla movie. That you should
Right.
this again jumps ahead, but you're waiting for the Godzilla sting to happen, and it isn't until he's finally full grown, as big as he can be, and you get the full
Yeah.
body shot that you get that bam, 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 and it's like, oh no, oh these buildings are doomed because he's just gonna start
Right.
destroying. So many more, I think. Also, people getting visibly killed and crushed than
Stepped
usually.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so we've mentioned this before, but good panic. I think really good panic.
Amazing panic, people falling and having to get picked up. Really great panic.
What I like about this is we've seen countless Godzilla movies and kaiju movies where you just see random people running away from Godzilla. What's nice
Yeah.
about this is we get to know about two of those people in that
Yes,
crowd.
and I think also because the because of the technology that you got there wasn't that with the CGI system of where you seeing his feet coming down on people that
Mhm.
It just melded better than like an old Godzilla where they have to do forced perspective
and he's standing
or
behind
like
buildings.
tricks. Yes.
Yeah.
So you felt there was like a lot more direct contact that they were running away from, and that just gave it that much more value. And
when the camera was in close to like footsteps, like you can hear the squishing sound,
yeah,
and like it looks like they kind of took some of like the Gareth Edwards approach of like kind of at points sticking the camera where the camera would be. Like there's the news reporters on top of the building, and you're like, oh,
oh
these guys
yeah,
are done. You're like just waiting for these guys to be done.
it's so good. Like having to do this report, and they're so close to the action. It's so good, and it just keeps narrating the whole thing that's happening. Like, oh, I just took out this thing. This thing survived the bombings, and now it's destroyed. But that was so good. And then them sliding down the building as the thing collapses.
Yeah.
Okay. Backing us up. The first time Godzilla shows up on the beach in the nighttime.
That threw me. Yeah.
It's a smaller Godzilla. And he had a really he had this I liked his look a lot. Laura, it's like his neck was like long and it kind of hung low.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was going to be the Godzilla because I was like, whoa, that's interesting. Almost like, it's like, you know how like the Tyrannosaurus toys that we grew up with, and then they realized, oh no, actually looks like Tyrannosaurus Rex kind of like, he kind of leaned forward more when he ran, and he was more in like a shape, like more like a bird. And that was essentially solidified when we saw it in the Jurassic Park when he's chasing down the Jeep, and like goes, oh, so it's more like that. And so it kind of had that kind of quality to it where it felt like this feels like a real dinosaur.
And it was quick.
Yeah.
Like it moved real quick.
Yeah, he was spry. And
he's a little bit taller than the palm trees, but not much.
And then when he showed up later and he's building sized, and he's standing straight up like classic Godzilla.
Yeah.
I welcomed it. I was like, oh, okay, this is familiar. This is cozy.
Well, like, okay, as much as I love Shin Godzilla,
yeah,
and the design of Shin Godzilla,
yeah,
like when we first see the big Godzilla's face like going through the water.
Oh yeah.
Like
classic.
Like swimming in the water.
Classic.
It looks like classic Godzilla.
That classic like dog head almost. That was one of the things I wrote down. Him chasing the boat, just his head above the water. So good. I liked he had orange spots on him. Like the color on him was interesting too. He was super bumpy and he had all those orange spots. And that was the first time you see the thing where like half his face gets exploded and it just starts closing up again.
Do that mine rattling around in his mouth?
Yeah.
And then the dude gets on the gun.
Yeah. Jaws. Like, it was very Jaws. Yeah. Totally.
But just the guys on the boat.
Smile, you son of a bitch.
All of that stuff.
Yeah. The fact is that I like the dinky wooden boat. So good, very Jaws. But I love that.
Yeah. That sequence was amazing. When they just blow off the cheek.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But then he regenerates like
so
crazy fast.
So fast. I was like, I could have been happy if he regenerated slower. Like if you go, it's like, oh no, it looks like his face is already back. Like if there was like a little more time thing, like almost in a sense, like a Wolverine where he had to walk away for a little bit and then re-heal and then come back.
He was like the T-1000.
Yeah, he totally was.
Kind of made it like scarier because I'm like, oh man, you're really gonna have to get a lot of minds.
How do you do it? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then the spikes.
Yeah.
Were crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like Okay, same thing. Comparatively, when we think about Shin Godzilla had innovation in his back spikes as well. Like
Mhm.
when Shin Godzilla
Shoot out.
shoots lasers out of his tail, his back, and his mouth.
Yeah.
And the fact that they would start and you follow him just just jutting out as he charges
Yeah.
up.
It's almost like they did what Gareth Edwards did in Godzilla 2014
Uh-huh.
and like amped
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
remember when you see it going up the back and
yeah.
they did something similar in Monarch,
Yeah.
but this was like
Even
it felt like it
even
was loading
more
a
so.
weapon.
Even more so, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
And
Yeah, it was I was like, I go, it's a little like a little bit hokey, but it's really cool. I really liked it, and I like his purple. It's very kind of Space Godzilla reminiscent, and the purpleness of it. And
then he launches,
and then he shoots.
you could see him like suck in the air.
Yeah,
and then
it whirls around him, and then he shoots it out, and it's basically like a nuclear bomb he shoots that explodes in the distance.
yeah,
It's huge.
I feel like they were trying to one up Shin Godzilla when Godzilla opens up his mouth and points straight down and just levels the city.
Oh yeah,
I think they were.
Yeah. Or Godzilla versus
But
Kong.
it made it
when he
scary.
burns a hole through the earth to the center.
Yeah,
Man.
but it was scary. Like I'm like, oh
Yeah.
like one blast does that.
Yeah.
And I do like that they set up that he needs to recharge.
Yes.
I was just hoping it was a little bit longer.
Yeah. It was
Just for the sake of,
but also just definitely set up the hopelessness of how can they possibly defeat this person, and we now know that we're part of his territory, so ever so often he's just going to basically destroy Tokyo again, and this is how we have to live with it.
right.
The weird fish that pop up.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. It reminded me of like Hedora or something. It looked like tadpoles or sperm.
Yeah, they're like
I don't know
gooey
what it
ducks.
was.
Yeah, they're so weird. It's like
And it's funny that they were like on the ocean, but you still hear like a bubbling sound, like a bloop,
yeah,
bloop, bloop,
yeah.
bloop. It's like this signal. It's like an audio
Yeah,
signal that
and then you
Godzilla's
see them
on his way.
Yeah.
I had a couple things that I questioned. Okay, so the plan is to sink Godzilla.
Yes.
Got it. There's this deep trench.
That's plan one.
And
plan
at the
A.
end, that's plan one. Yeah.
That's
and at the
plan.
end of the movie, yeah. Was that Gamera? That was a good plan. Launch him into space.
Yeah,
I mean, you know. So Godzilla's facing the plane, which is amazing. And at some point, like Godzilla jumps up and tries to grab the plane in its mouth. Is he treading water? Because he's definitely standing. And he can't be standing if he's over the trench. So that was the only thing. We don't see him like actually fall into the trench. It's just the trench is there. He's just standing.
Yeah, I
He's standing in the water waist high.
He's not standing. He has those floats around him that hold him up like a.
But that's after that's after Plan B, when they shoot him back up with the floats.
Yeah.
He's definitely standing when they wrap him around in the thing, and maybe they drag him towards the trench or something.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, I see. You're right.
I don't, because it's that thing from
God.
It's that thing from what was it, Godzilla King of the Monsters, where Godzilla's like standing there and shooting up in the sky, and then he like swims and it's like very deep. It's like he could stand when it's convenient, but that didn't. I feel like that's every Godzilla movie does that, so maybe it's an homage.
Did he swim out there or did he walk out there? When he went out to destroy the decoy boat.
He was swimming because he was under the water because the beacon beacon was going
Okay.
off.
Yeah, right.
But I guess
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't,
because
care because
he's
I
not.
love this movie so
Yeah, you
much.
just ruined the movie for me. Yeah, he's not bouncing on the water. So that would be
Right.
that I'd have to I'd need a second viewing to fully scrutinize that and try and explain it away to myself. Um.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The plan was weird, but the plan was weird. But I was thinking back to Shin Godzilla, where the plan was get large cranes full
That
of
was a weird plan.
blood coagulant, put him in the mouth, and then once he falls down, send uh, elevated subway trains
Yeah, to crash
or
into him.
elevated
Yeah,
trains to
turn
right
him
into
into
the side of
stone
Godzilla.
and then crash into him.
Yeah,
Well,
I
the plan,
feel like
like this
I feel
plan,
like I like
the
the weird ones.
trench. Yeah, I mean, I liked and then we'll give him the bends, and that'll do it. And then
Yeah, Plan B is give him the
yeah,
bends. I was like, is he gonna just like diarrhea everywhere? Is he gonna explode? It's
I
gonna
like when he
happen.
came up. He was like he had some visible damage on him, like he had some pink bits that were
It was like
showing, and they're like,
cracking.
oh, and uh, and they're like, damn, but it's not damaged enough. Uh, I I like how the
Right.
sound dropped right at the end too,
Oh, when he started
and then
his
there's
things
no
were
sound,
he
and
was
then
about
the
to
sound
shoot.
of the plane comes in because we knew the plane's gonna do something. And oh, by the way,
Yeah.
when you first see the plane landing, did you think oxygen destroyer when it cut to the bomb? I was like,
Yes.
I think because also the oxygen destroyer was just fresher in our mind because we saw that the
The Super
announcement
7
of
toy.
the reaction Godzilla skeleton that came with the oxygen destroyer.
It, so I thought, okay, what he had I love that his the plan revolved like showing an analog, like he had a tank of water with a wooden
Oh
Godzilla
yeah,
shape. Uh
yeah.
and then
It's very like yeah,
he
they're like
showed how it worked.
high school science teacher, just explanation
And
of how.
I love because we've always talked about like whenever you see like the sort of war room where the generals are
Yes.
standing around with the tanks
Yeah.
and there's always like a detailed Godzilla figure or a
Right.
detailed other monster. And this was like just kind of like crudely carved out of wood, like a basic Godzilla shape.
I think it's great. It felt like it felt
Yeah.
yeah, like when you see like it in like when they do those same type of war rooms in like more like a sword and sandal or some kind of
Uh-huh.
an older kind of movie. Yeah. You think is that the same Godzilla that was using the tank that they then all right, grab that wood Godzilla because now we got to put it over here where the maps go.
Maybe. Like if this is the prequel, it's
Yeah, the system was pretty. Yeah. The example with the I like, and how that guy became the guy. Like when we first met him, where he was when he was like with the guy on the boat, to then
Mhm.
that they're then he's like, and then when they formed this citizens coalition to defeat
God, that
Godzilla.
was so awesome. That was so awesome. And then some people left, which I
Yeah,
liked.
that was great.
I mean, it felt
They left.
great.
Well,
I
people
liked the
tried to reach them to try and get them to stay for a moment. Yeah, that
yeah
felt very good, very real.
yeah
The guy who was like the general or whoever was like in charge, like the way he got emotional at the end, I thought was very moving as well.
right
But yeah,
right
it's that. And
right. I like the mechanic.
yes, yes,
The mechanic was great. That story arc was
yes,
awesome. He went from like uh, his life being ruined to hating this guy and giving not only giving him another chance, but giving him a chance to live
yes.
with the ejector seat.
So
Like
much of
all
the
of
running
this
theme
stuff.
was to choose to live instead. Instead of dying for the cause,
Yeah,
live for the cause. I found
yeah.
that such a great like. Also with the woman who he was living with same thing when he took the job of retrieving the mines that are
Hmm.
that were left from the war, and she was like she is like don't whatever that thinking that it was like a suicide mission or something. I
Yeah.
thought the little kid was good. The kid was really cute.
Yeah.
Clearly, I feel like there's someone off camera being like making the cry face, and the kid goes straight to the cry.
Because she's like sitting there and just like sitting in the scene with him. Yeah. And he's like, why do
And
you
I was
look
like,
sad? And
I don't know.
sad
I
was the
don't
trigger word too. Yeah, that whole storyline, it was really, really well done. The fact that he didn't want to marry her just because he felt like he was still fighting a war. All the PTSD stuff was good.
Yeah.
He feels like he's in a
Yeah.
dream. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Flashback. Yeah. When he's like, yeah, in that dream flashback, and just
Mhm.
also like seeing like that people were just
Yeah.
living amongst the rubble of the bombs and just life continuing amongst that and stuff.
Yeah, and him going out and doing the job of destroying the mines, and then to get to a point where he is getting money and essentially just enough to buy like two
Yeah.
walls for his shack. Um, but then like the fact that he becomes close with the boat crew, and they're having dinner at his place
Yeah.
with the boat crew and the kid, and they all know his family and stuff. I like that idea, found family, as
Yeah,
well.
and then how like his wife, she's not my, she's not my. She's what's going on, and then explaining how the scenario and that one guy in the boat crew, he's mad at him.
For not marrying her.
Where he's like, "Come on, marry her." Yeah, that whole thing was
Yeah.
great.
And then again, they keep setting up these things that are obvious, but when the payoff is so great and they come in at the right time, is one
With the guy who's not allowed to come.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he's going to show up, but at the same
yeah,
time, it's like you're super excited
yeah.
because you kind of forget.
That part was that movie. That movie about it where I think it's the British World War One movie where all those guys who all the fishermen and stuff go to help
Is it Dunkirk?
pick up soldiers. Yeah, I think it's Dunkirk. That
Yeah,
kind of felt like that when all the
yeah.
tugboats are coming up.
I loved all the tugboats
Yeah,
because like I had like tugboat toys, like bath toys when I was a kid and stuff, and it just looked like that. It's just like you dumped all the tugboat boat toys in the bathtub, and just pulling the tugboats, pulling the ships, the battleships
yeah.
to fish out Godzilla was like, is pretty great.
Godzilla versus that one battleship was a great fight when like the
Yeah,
big guns are trying to spin around. This Godzilla was really smart,
yeah,
like cunning. Like I felt like Godzilla. Like there's certain things like he did moves. I go, oh, he's not just brute force. He's like there's a little bit of like
okay. So what cracks
knowing
me
like
up,
what the dangerous bit is.
and I think this is a thing that happens with crocodiles or alligators.
Okay.
Apparently, when you don't want to come up to a crocodile when they're in the water because they're super agile. When they're on
Yeah.
land, they can't really move that great. I learned that
Yeah.
from like a James Bond movie. And so in this movie,
Yeah.
when Godzilla's in the water,
To run in a serpentine motion, to run in
yeah,
a zigzag away from a crocodile because they
yeah,
can't corner.
yeah. So in this, Godzilla was like going after the plane and snapping at it, comes really close. The sounds on that were amazing.
Yeah.
Him taking out the boat and stuff, him swimming after the boat and getting the mines in his mouth, and then the
Yeah.
battleship coming in the last minute and nailing him in the
Yes.
side. Like all that
Yeah.
stuff's great. Now, Godzilla on land walks like RoboCop, and I kind of loved
Yes.
it. So stiff, so
Super stiff.
straightforward, like out of his element, and just like
Super
it,
old school Godzilla kind
but
of. Yeah, for sure.
like way more than
That's
normal.
interesting. That's an interesting point. Like maybe he's just so heavy in the out of the water,
Yeah.
he can't quite move. But I mean, yeah, moved, but also the tail just destroying.
But
The
like
tail did a lot of
purposely.
damage.
Like a lot of times you see Godzilla, he'll like turn around and just knock stuff down with his tail. Like
Yes. Yeah.
like actual like coordinated attacks with the tail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like really like leaning, like I think he took out the news people with the tail or the building across the way. Just angry. I don't know why, just angry. Maybe it has something to do with the because they use the Bikini Atoll testing again in this one.
Right. So are we thinking then? So if in whatever the mythology of this Godzilla, Godzilla was a large creature. I mean,
It's similar to Godzilla versus King Ghidorah from the 90s. Remember where they were in the past and Godzilla was just a dinosaur on an
right,
island?
right. That's exactly what I was thinking. It was like, and then suddenly it got the bombs irradiated, made him giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That
give him the
animation where it
special
just
his.
shows Godzilla's skin like flaking off like it's like reptile
Yeah,
molting or something. It was like a really quick like way to say, okay, next time you see Godzilla, he'll be bigger.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about this airplane and what it does to Godzilla?
Sure.
Because it was amazing. When it happened, when he goes flying in, because the whole thing is you're like, from the get-go, this guy has regrets not fulfilling his mission as a kamikaze pilot.
Right.
And they fitted this plane with a gigantic bomb, and he said, Godzilla's soft on the inside. If I could just get to the inside, I could take him out. And so we're
Which was
expecting...
set up when they blew up the mine in the mouth. Like this, everything is trackable in this. Even like the whole when they mentioned that they didn't put ejection seats in the plane. We go, oh, but hopefully there's an ejection seat this time because there's a kid at home.
Yeah, and there's the moment where the mechanic's working on the plane and he looks at that section.
You pulled this thing here, and I gotta tell you some other things that the people don't get to find out about until the...
But the flashback I thought was a nice touch because it was a emotional scene between the two of them. It was like a bit of a closure. Like he was finally saying, I understand your mission to want to live.
Yes.
And it really packed that emotional punch.
You know what else was great about that mechanic, by the way, was because of the injury at the first Godzilla attack at the beginning, giving him that limp. Yeah. It gave him such a signature thing that we knew it was him before we saw his face, because that's the first thing you saw of him was the limp.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. About when he said, "I only know one person that could work on this plane," I was like, "Oh man." Yeah, I was getting pretty pumped. So the plane, the sound goes out, and then we hear the plane, and we all know this is going to be the big moment. It's the Godzilla's rearing up to like fire his atomic breath. Yeah, there's no sound. Everybody's pretty much like, there's a guy that takes off his hat and he's holding it up against his chest, like, I'm witnessing my final moments. Like Godzilla's about to take us out. Right. And then you hear the plane, and you're like, oh man, here it comes. Mm-hmm. And it's like all of a sudden it's just like bam, right into the mouth.
Bam, stuck. Like it happens faster than like you think. Like it's like has that kind of quality, almost like same thing. When Shin finally froze, like this long period, and all of a sudden it's this little instant moment. There's like, oh, I wasn't ready for it.
That was another great moment. Is when Godzilla is like his fins are lighting up blue as he's sinking, and then just shuts down at the bottom as he's sinking. It just goes, the lights just go boop, they're out. Mm-hmm. Like that moment was great too, because you think, oh, they won, but then he chewed through his things and he was fine. But the plane hitting the mouth and exploding, and pretty much the top half of Godzilla's head is gone.
Head is gone. Yeah.
I was like, is he going to parachute and land on the tongue? And I'm like, as much as I would love to see it, it would not be in this movie. It wouldn't make like it's this a different kind of movie. But
and then he
just the image of Godzilla
without the top of his
head.
Again,
Godzilla's standing there without his head.
Right.
But is he over the trench or not over the trench? I don't know. I need to watch it again. I don't want it. I feel like the issue is there's so much stupid stuff in Godzilla movies
Yeah.
that we're just like we don't care. But this one is so like grounded in, you know, like in history, I guess,
Yes.
that you feel like everything should be airtight. But it's still a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay, so I
And
saw
there are
did
some
they have
limitations to the CGI, but you know,
yeah. I think all the plane stuff inside the cockpit was some of my favorite stuff.
yeah.
Like seeing him look down out the cockpit and seeing Godzilla in the ocean, like those shots were amazing.
Now, when I'm interested when like the bonus features come out and you get to see some of the making of stuff, because like we keep doing comparisons to Shin, but just because Shin was one of the freshest, the way Shin was motion captured, where they had a guy who was dragging this weighted thing to represent the tail. I did,
Mhm.
and it gave him that. It gave him a man in suit quality. I feel like I didn't quite
Yeah.
have that with this one. I feel like they
Mhm.
may not have used that technique for this one. Did you get that same impression?
I got the same impression, but I think I'm so used to like what it almost last 10 years
Yeah.
of like legendary Godzilla to where I'm like
Yes.
used to it.
Yeah.
I think I was mostly so excited to see a straight up like classic design with the exception of the fins in the back. Like the face looks so much like a classic
I think he had
Toho.
big feet
Um
too, like because like the
yeah,
legendary Godzilla has tiny little feet.
yeah, like elephant
Yeah. And this one had like
feet.
big claw feet.
Also this totally helped that the opening of the movie says like Godzilla 70th anniversary,
Yeah.
and it put me and then seeing the Toho logo,
Yeah.
like it I was immediately like, oh man, this is it.
Toho
It's
logo
been
was very exciting.
yeah, when was Shin Godzilla? What year was that? Like 2015 or something?
Wow.
I'm gonna look it up real quick. But so it's been a while.
Yeah, are they gonna do a new statue in front of Douglas Peters?
2016. It was 2016. So it's been a while since we had a new Toho.
Yeah.
So I think mostly I was excited to see the classic design again,
Yeah.
and the CG didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, like because I have that Godzilla Mothra poster right at the entrance to my office, and I was like
Mhm.
looking at that Godzilla in that painting and being like, oh, that's more the shape of the head of this Godzilla.
Mhm. Yeah, the head reminded me of the 90s Godzilla. The body was kind of similar to that, big thighs and
Yeah.
feet, or almost like the body almost reminded me of Godzilla GMK, where it had like the cartoony proportion
Hmm.
feet, like the big chunk feet.
Yeah.
I really like the design in this. I saw that like Super 7 has some toy out there. It's like $85, and it came with two heads. I think I sent it to you right before I was going to see the movie, and I didn't look to see if one of the heads was like a half a head.
No, it's the one
But I feel like
mouth
that
open,
would be
mouth closed. I think
fun.
is all it is.
Okay, because if they have a Godzilla where the top half of his head is exploded,
Who knows?
as like I
Maybe
mean that's kind of nuts.
there was that one. There's that one Godzilla that's like half melted down pre-order.
Oh yeah,
Uh, yeah, I mean that may come in the future.
yeah.
Maybe it'd be like the plane, or with or without the plane. Like you can put the plane there, or you could take the top of the head up. It's almost like there's that one, the thing, dog toy
Oh
with all the
yeah.
interchangeable heads and appendages and stuff that come out of it. There could be one that just has a bunch of different optional, however you want to display it.
I don't know if I'll get one, but I really liked it. I really liked the design.
I get really caught up and I go, all right, like if depending on the price, I kind of have a minimum height that I require of certain prices, and I go,
Yeah, I
6 inches for $85, and I start like, that's this much per inch. I don't know.
I this movie didn't like completely like corrupt my mind like Shin Godzilla did. Like Shin Godzilla, I could not stop thinking about for like a week straight.
Well, it was Shin Godzilla was a harder reset as far as like from everything that you thought about Godzilla. Here's basically a lava monster in the form of Godzilla, in a
Oh
way.
my god!
And
So
what?
so we're watching the movie.
Yeah.
We're watching the movie, and there comes a point where they're about to do the citizens thing, and they all go upstairs to this boardroom.
Hmm.
And Stevie like nudged me and said, "Ooh, boardrooms." And it made me laugh because that's all Shin
Yeah.
Godzilla is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where this movie shines, obviously, over Shin Godzilla's. Shin Godzilla is
Less
just a
there's
crazy
less
movie, and it's all
bureaucracy.
about like, yeah, yeah. Uh, but then I was thinking about this movie too. Is like, with Shin Godzilla is kind of like a one-off.
Yeah.
Like you have the Millennium series, and you have the Shin Godzilla, which is
Yeah.
this weird sort of outlier, and then the Godzilla minus one, which I think was like it was number one at the box office yesterday or Monday, and it was number three at the box office over the weekend, which is like the highest
No way.
grossing
Really?
uh, live action
Oh,
Japanese
in Japan?
in America.
Number one.
It's
No, but it wasn't a limited
odd.
release.
So it was number three over the weekend,
Really?
but on Monday's box office alone, it was number one for that day,
Huh.
and which I guess has never happened to subtitle Japanese live action movie.
Wow.
Um,
I was impressed by how full
but
my theater
so
was when I went to see it.
yeah, we had a pretty good sized crowd for a Tuesday night. Um, but I kept thinking, like, so if this isn't a one off, if they're like, this movie's successful, like, do we, like, I kind of want to see, like, Godzilla raids again. I want to see Godzilla versus, like, Angulus. Like, I kind of want to, you know what I mean? Like, I, I don't, like, this movie's so good, and I don't want it to just, like, them to, like, ruin it by doing, like, crazy stuff,
Do you
but
know why it's called -1?
Mick looked it up, and I guess there was different stages. You know how like there's like threat level orange, threat
Oh,
level,
okay.
like those things. It's like that, and apparently minus one. I think like zero is like atomic threat, and minus one would be worse than that, or something.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because
But
it was like
like,
Godzilla -1, and then the next one would be called Godzilla, and then Godzilla One.
oh, you go up,
Uh,
you gonna go down to minus
oh,
two?
as a sequel, Godzilla -1, 2. The- uh,
Right,
um,
right.
I will say that's one of the things. Also, just to mention Monarch for another second. The all the different Godzilla evacuation systems that are put in.
Oh, the
Yeah,
stickers with
or it's like,
the,
oh, this is where you
where it's
go.
like the green with the yellow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of cool.
I would. Yeah, I don't know. I like this movie too much. I don't think I would want them to sequelize it, but at the same time, I don't want them to stop making movies like
I
this.
wouldn't. I'd be. It'd be interesting. First of all, to do a run of this Godzilla, to be like, okay, we're gonna take this Godzilla and we're gonna do, a trilogy of movies. Let's say. It would be also interesting because they would still remain like period pieces, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Because I like that
do
they
one in the
were,
50s.
yeah, that they were in the era that it was set in. Oh, oh man, the train
Yeah, hanging out of his mouth.
hanging out of his mouth. First of all, I was like, it's such a great. I go to recreate such an iconic image, perhaps the most iconic image of Godzilla
Yeah,
in there was superb. Also, all the her hanging and from the inside was also just
mhm.
great excitement for the movie on top of it. But I was like, oh, because like she gets on the train and he goes, oh, Godzilla on the train. Oh, Godzilla hates trains. This is going to be great. But to recreate it hanging out of his mouth was so good.
Right. And that's again where I'm like, in the original Godzilla, that's like a crazy scene, but none of the main characters are in it. Again, it's like
Right.
okay, you've seen all the people
Right.
running, but you don't care about them.
Right.
Well, what if you care about one of those
Right.
people?
It's like, yeah, in the original, it's like, oh, this is Godzilla with a toy train. But this is different.
Oh, it's so good. See, they also need a head of that with the train hanging out. The toy needs like 5 heads.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it was the exact same shape with it just dangling
The
off
same
both
amount
sides.
of train hanging off him. Yeah, yeah. At one point he had a lot of train, and then another piece drops off. I was like, oh yeah, perfect. That's how we remember it.
Yeah. God, so good. Okay, so I have a question. I have the list up right now.
Jesus.
And I feel like here's the thing, like Shin, which caused us to create this show, is not in our top 5. And we love that movie so much.
Does your top 5 have, because like we kind of had a top 10-ish that we kind of narrowed to the top 5. Like, do you have?
Yeah, kind of it was like our honorable mentions. I don't have those up.
Do you remember where Shin landed in that? I mean, because I think Shin could have been in the top 10. Easy.
I don't know.
Okay,
so, but our top 5 right now
is Rodan.
I'll go from 5. Number 5 is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. That's the one with the ape men, the ape aliens, with the ape belt buckles. Number 4 is Destroy All Monsters.
Yeah,
which I'm already like, okay, I think I might be able to weed some of these out.
The thing is, already here's part of the problem.
It's so fresh, it's so new.
It's that this was the most serious Godzilla movie, or one of the most serious Godzilla movies that we saw. Like, there's aspects of, like, when you look at Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, there's also a level of ridiculousness that we love about it.
Yeah.
Which is in its favor.
I mean, a lot of these are camp. Number 3 is Frankenstein Conquers the World, which is amazing. Number 2 is Monster Zero, which is always I've always said is my favorite Godzilla movie. And then, of course, number 1's Rodan, which I've revisited, and it's so good.
Our list, it's interesting how our list ended up. I mean,
but all these are awesome, though.
They are awesome, and I like how, like, Frankenstein Conquers the World beat War of the Gargantuas for us in our.
It was a surprise, I think, and I think it's better. I think the story's more cohesive.
It's just something like, wow, we just really like this so much. Wow, okay,
and a bear gun.
Damn, it did.
For me, looking at this list, could easily put it at my number 4. Which would, I mean...
yeah.
I would have to... I would really have to think about Frankenstein Conquers the World, Rodan, and Monster Zero. But I think it easily, for me, fits in at number 4.
I think I'm with you on that. I think I'm with you on that. I think I'm with you on that, and it definitely it could make a run to go further up the list. We'd have to watch the other movies again.
Yeah, I watched Rodan recently. It's so good, dude. It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
But this felt like Rodan. It felt like, they don't know what this thing is, and it's a mystery, and it had that sort of real dire. And Rodan also took place it was a modern movie, but it really centered around that sort of mining town. I felt like you're really in there with the people. Trying to fend for themselves.
That's what. Rodan was great because it was a small. It didn't have to deal with, like, the whole
world.
The fact that it was a small town, it
didn't have Hollow Earth.
Right.
It's more subdued. I'm for me, because Frankenstein Conquers the World was such a that changed things.
Yeah, it changed things a lot, and also because, like, it was such a it was nothing we'd been exposed to before. Really, it was such a
No,
new
and Baragon was a
discovery.
surprise. We didn't
Kind
know
of like
Baragon
Rodan.
was there.
Rodan was kind of like that too, in a sense. It was like this, yeah,
It's like a
just like a
drama.
discovery. Like we knew Rodan as like a sidekick or as an addendum to, but like just its own story. And then there was two of them, and like the way the tragedy of them at the end was like an opera.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, because
And
Rodan came
Monster
really
Zero. I
early
just
in our watching of movies, and it just became like the standard that the other movies kept being compared to.
right.
Monster Zero, it's still the aliens look too good.
The Exilians and astronaut Glenn and Nick Adams,
Yeah,
and I mean you have Godzilla, King Ghidorah, and Rodan.
yeah. The
It's
traveling in bubbles and being
yeah,
left on that planet.
Planet X. I mean that's
It's good.
yeah,
It's really
and
good.
the alien lady that falls in love with
Yes,
Nick Adams. Is he astronaut
yes,
Glenn?
and
He's astronaut Glenn. Um,
all the alien ladies look the same.
mhm. For me, I'm.
Yeah,
It's either 3 or 4,
I,
but I mean, I think I might go 4, which knocks Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla off.
yeah, yeah.
Like as soon as it ended, I was like, it's immediately in the conversation. I just didn't know
Yeah,
yet.
totally, totally. Yeah, yeah. And I think it does seem that's where to go. At least that's the immediate impression that it can easily have a solid footing at spot 4.
Yeah, you want to do it?
It's interesting with the. I mean, yeah, we can do it for
I feel
sure. I
like
mean,
yeah,
this is a living list, so it can.
this is not a conversation we had or even thought about with Godzilla versus Kong. I liked it a lot, but I haven't
Yeah,
revisited
right.
this
None of
movie. I
the
want to see
none,
this movie is in IMAX for like one more day, and I'm really would like to go see that again.
right. This is yeah, nothing else in recent watching made me feel like that could be.
Yeah. I think Skull Island
And
was
they were great.
yeah, kind of diminishing returns on those. I think for Legendary.
Yeah, it just but there's just an emotional attachment to a lot of the classic movies that were in the top 5,
Hmm.
and then like this one just kind
Yeah,
of came and just washed over us with there's so much they did right.
yeah,
Don't change it on the site just yet. Let let the people who want to listen to this listen to it, so we so they don't they don't find out ahead of time that it already made the list.
yeah. I won't spoil it.
Uh,
Um, cool. So I don't know what the future has for us as far as Godzilla X Kong. What is it? Kingdom
all right.
of the oh man, I already forget what it's called. It's too many things. Kingdom of Legends. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. The trailer really didn't do much for me, and especially now, like
Yeah.
what I could see a Godzilla movie be. But I mean, I guess it is cool seeing Godzilla and Kong. Did you watch the trailer for it?
Yes.
Okay. Um,
The team up.
seeing, I guess, yeah, the team up. So we'll see. I don't know how cool this red Kong is going to be, and I don't know how goofy and zany this baby son of Kong is going to be. But we'll see. I mean, I'm going to go see it. There's nothing going to stop me from seeing it. So
That's the
I don't
son
know.
of Kong. Is it really? Is that son of Kong? Is
Well, it
what
looks
the
like a little tiny Kong,
that little
not just
tiny
a
Kong?
regular.
Now, little tiny. That guy isn't doesn't grow up to be the red Kong.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I my assumption was that that's where it started and it became the red Kong.
Hmm.
Like that's the
I guess
Caesar.
we'll find out. Oh.
in a way. That was great. No notes.
Yeah.
An hour without notes.
Yeah.
Just
I guess
off the
everybody
top.
can follow us at Kaiju Pod on socials. You never know. A show might pop up.
Yeah, we might do another one of these in a few years.
Yeah. It's been 2 years. I think it was April 2021 was our last one.
Yeah, those of you who kept the feed open,
Yeah.
we
And
appreciate
then
it.
did you say we
Glad we
did
found
you
something
say
to
we
talk
had a
about.
sign off? I don't remember.
You don't remember our sign off? Until next time,
Oh,
I'm going to.
I forgot. Oh, great. Now I'm really on the spot. Until next time, I'm going to give Godzilla the bends. That's all right. God, I totally forgot about that. That's hilarious.
Until next time, I'm gonna.
Oh,
I'm gonna sit
there's
here.
a big thing.
I'm gonna sit here and not abandon this baby in the middle of
He could
nowhere.
have at least handed the baby off to the neighbor before taking off in the middle of the night.
No, I meant like when the first time the lady leaves it with him, and he's waiting for it, and then nothing, and then finally he's like, "All right, I guess I'm taking this baby home now." And she's like, "Hey!"
There's one thing I wanted to bring up that we didn't bring up. What's on her neck?
Oh
yeah. And Stevie asked me, and I'm like, I don't know, some sort of radiation thing or something. I have no idea.
I think that I mean, yeah,
Scar.
it's like she's gonna turn into a lady Godzilla somehow.
Mothra.
I feel like it's some kind of.
It's showing the lasting scar of Godzilla that it's not over. Like her war is now begun.
Yeah, there's some kind of microbes or something. There's something alive in her, because it also cuts from that to
sinking Godzilla.
The Godzilla, right? Yeah.
Again, Godzilla was standing there.
Right, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a good. That's
Yeah.
see, there's stuff in like you're wondering like, are you going to then bring something? Yeah, the fact that there's like this kind of like she's infected. You know, this is like whatever it is that's going to be like the apocalyptical infection, like, you know, like the people that got irradiated by Godzilla or got whatever the thing, and it's like, yeah, maybe she's gonna grow really big.
Big lady.
Maybe it's like a lady Frankenstein conquers the world.
Right.
Yeah, like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, but yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's like the thing with like at the end of Shin and all those like mini Godzillas on the tail. And you go, what?
Yeah.
What was that? Well, what the hell? What was that? And then never, you know, it was just kind of like that was it though. That's all we got about it. We didn't get to let that run its course.
Hopefully we find out.
So
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested in chapter 2.
Set the next one in the 50s, one in the 60s. Do the 60s one be a space one with their version of King Ghidorah. Do one in the 70s, then bring Jet Jaguar back. All right, man.
I wish I had it better until next time. Yeah, we weren't ready for that.
I completely forgot about it. 100%.
I'm gonna rally the tugboats.
It sounds like a euphemism. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna rally the tugboats.
Same thing, like when they told the guy he couldn't come. The way they said that when they said that guy couldn't come, why can't I? He says you can. Like, it's basically the same kind of thing. It's like you need to live. You need to not have to experience war and stuff. It's like it's just really kind of
and you're here for the future. Like you're the future.
Yeah, this is really, really great emotional stuff in it, like that. Really, really like it's our Independence Day speech kind of quality to it, you know?
Yeah, but like more somber.
Yeah. It definitely made me want to watch the first one again. It was like the injured people and all that, when like all the aftermath.
Sarazawa, the oxygen destroyer, all that stuff. I like all that stuff. But Godzilla's so goofy looking in that one. It's almost like they were like, okay, we can retell that story, but make it like scarier.
Oh yeah, totally.
All right,
we did it.
I think that's good. We'll see what happens with the next movie that comes out.
Cool.
All right, dude.
Later.